to this lesson. I'm teacher Agnes, and today we are going to be discussing about operations on decimals. So in our previous lessons, we learned what decimals are, and how to write numbers correct to a specific number of significant figures, how to round off, and so on. So today we are going to focus on how do we add, subtract, multiply, or divide decimals. And you're going to begin with addition. Okay? Addition. So when doing addition of decimals and you have numbers like 44.06 plus 0.007, we plus a third one as 10.15. How do we add these decimals? So to add, we arrange the decimals in a vertical manner, 44.06, and then ensure that the decimal points are vertically aligned. So when writing 0.007, the point should be the same at the same place as the one of the previous number. So here we will have 0.007. So ensure that the numbers are aligning. The other one is 10.15. So now, having arranged our numbers vertically, we are now going to add them. Now, since this number in the middle has 3 decimal places, we need to match that by adding zeros to the other numbers. So 0 plus 7 plus 0 is 7. 6 plus 0 plus 5 is 11. So we write 1, then carry 1. 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 1, that is 2. Then now we have 4 plus 0 plus 0, which is 4. Then 4 plus 1, which is 5. So the total of the 3, or the sum of the 3 decimals, is now 54.217. Let's try one more example. So if you have 60.078 plus 1.09. How do we go about this? So allow me to change this into 9 and this into 9 also. So we have 60.978 plus 1.99. How do we add the two? So like we said, you need to arrange them vertically. So we have 60.978 plus 1.99. Now, remember the rules. The decimal points must be aligned. And since in the second decimal we don't have, we have less decimal places, we can add a 0 here to ensure that, they are the same, so it is easy for us to do the addition. So 8 plus 0 becomes 8. 7 plus 9 becomes 16. So we write 6 and then we carry 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 plus 9 is 19. So again, even at this point, if you get a value that is greater than 10, then you should carry the 1 or the 2 and so on if you get to 20. So we write 9, then we carry 1. 1 plus 1 becomes 2, then 6 here. And our final answer will be 62.968. So how do we subtract decimals then? Let's find that out. Now when subtracting decimals, you still follow the same rules as addition, but now you use a different, sign. So let's use an example to learn how to do subtraction of decimals. If you have 44.067 minus 1.289, how do you do it? So like we said in addition, you must arrange your numbers, your decimals vertically. So we have 44.067 minus 1.289. Okay? So how do we subtract this? So following the same rules of subtraction, 7 cannot subtract 9. So we need to carry 1. We need to borrow 1 from the number that is next to 7, which is 6. So if you borrow 1 from here, we have 5 left, and now we have 17, which can subtract 9. 17 minus 9 will be equal to 8. Now 5 cannot subtract 8. So we need to borrow 1, but we can't borrow from 0. So we need to borrow from 4. If we borrow from 4, here we will have 3 left. We carry 1 to 10, then we borrow 1 from the 10 to leave 9. So this now becomes 15. 15 minus 8 will be equal to 15 minus 8 will be equal to 7. Now 9 minus 2 will be equal to 7 also. 3 minus 1 will be equal to 2, and then 4 minus 0 will be equal to 4. So our final answer will be 42.778. Now let us try this one together. So work with me here. So let's say we have 209.06 minus 14.07. Okay, so we arrange our decimals vertically. So now we have 209.06 minus 14.07. So to subtract this, 6 is smaller than 9. So we need to borrow 1 from the number before 6. But since 0, we can't borrow from 0, then we have to borrow from 9. So when we borrow from 9, how many values will leave here? 8. Then this becomes 10. We borrow 1 from here, we leave 9. Then this becomes 16. So 16 minus 7 will be equal to what? 9. Then 9 minus 0 will be equal to 9. Okay. 8 minus 4 will be equal to 4. And then 20, or rather 0 cannot subtract 1. So we need to carry 1 from 2, so that we have 10 here. 10 minus 1 will be equal to 9. And since we left 1 here, this will be equal to 1. So our final answer will be 194.99. Did you get it right? Okay, so at this point now, I want you to attempt this on your own. Attempt 125.78 minus 0.065. Okay, and then I also need you to attempt 140.07 plus 12.98. So now we are going to find out how do we multiply, how do we divide decimals. Multiplication. So we are going to do this in form of examples. So in the first one, I need you to pay attention so that in the next one, you try to do it with me. So we are going to start by multiplying 12.1 times 1.3. Now when it comes to multiplication, the first thing that you do is to count. How many decimal places do we have in these two numbers? So in the first number, we have 1 decimal place, then we have another one here. So in total, we have 2. So I need you to put in mind that our question has 2 decimal places because our answer should also have 2 decimal places. Now after noting that, you can now remove the decimal point and then have 121 times 13. So now we are going to multiply these two numbers, then put back in the decimal places in the end. Alright, let's do it. So now we have 121 times 13. So we arrange our numbers vertically. Then now we have 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Then now we add them. So this is just the normal multiplication that we do. So 3 here, 6 plus 1 is 7, 3 plus 2 is 5, then we have 1 here. Now, after obtaining this value, remember how many decimal places do we need? We need 2 decimal places. So our final answer is going to be, remember the decimal point is always after the last digit. So we need to move it backwards 2 times. So our answer is going to be equal to 15.73. Now, as we do this second example, I need you to try it with me. So in the second example, we are going to have, so this was the first one, then now here we're going to have 0.006 times 1.44. Okay? Now, what is the first step? Remember, the first step is to determine how many decimal places do we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 5 decimal places once we complete doing this question. So then we can now remove the decimal places or ignore them, and then we have 6 times 144. So now we can multiply the two. So 144 is here times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. So we write 4, we carry 2. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2, that becomes 26. So we write 6, we carry 2. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 2, 8. So now we have 864. And then we put back the decimal places. How many do we need? 5. So since the decimal point is here, we move it backwards 5 times. But you realize that we only have 3 digits. So how will we make 5 decimal places? It means that we will add zeros to come in before 8. So if our decimal point moves from here, 1, 2, 3, how many decimal places do we need? We need 5, so we need 2 more. So we are going to add 2 zeros and then put our decimal point there. So our answer is going to be equal to 0.00864. Got it? Okay, so let's now find out how we divide decimal numbers. Now, when it comes to division, how do we do it? So this is the last operation that we are going to look at. So please pay attention and learn the rules of division of decimals. Now, if you have two numbers like 1.44 divided by 0.6, how do we divide these two numbers? So the first thing that you do again is to write these numbers vertically so it is easier for you. So now we are going to have 1.44 divided by 0.6. Now, at this point, we are going to eliminate in order to remove the decimal places. And for us to do that, then we can only multiply these numbers by numbers like 10, 100, 1000, and so on. So a number that begins with 1 and has the rest of the digits as 0. Now, when you look at the numerator, it has 2 decimal places. The denominator has 1. So normally we pick, or we are guided by the number that has more decimal places. And I'll explain the reason to you. If we want to eliminate 2 decimal places, then we would need to multiply this number by 100. If you want to eliminate 1 decimal place, we'll have to multiply this by 10. Now, since we are introducing something new in the question that has been given, multiplying by 2 different numbers will destabilize the question. So you need to multiply by a common number. But if we choose 10, we will eliminate, or rather we will change 0.6 times 10 will become 6. 1.44 times 10 will become 14.4. So we will still have a decimal point. But if we multiply by 100, 1.44 times 100 becomes 144. 0.6 times 10 becomes 60. No, 0.6 times 100 becomes 60. So you see we will have eliminated the decimal places, but only if we choose to be guided by the number which has more decimal places. So in this question, we are going to multiply by 100 in both cases. So 1.44 times 100 will become 144 over 0.6 times 100, which is equal to 60. So if we simplify this, these two numbers are both divisible by 6. So if we divide this by 6, we get what? We get 24. 144 divided by 6 is 24. 60 divided by 6 is 10. So at this point, 24 divided by 10 is the same as 0 or rather 2.4. Because if you divide by 10, then your answer must have one decimal place. So this becomes 2.4. Now let us look at another example together. So in this example, we have 0.072 divided by 1.2. 0.072 divided by 1.2. Now in this question, you can rewrite it vertically. So this becomes 0.072 over 1.2. Now we already know what to do. How many decimal places do we have in the numerator? 3. Denominator? 1. So we multiply by 1,000. Okay? So multiply by 1,000, multiply by 1,000. So this will be equal to, so 0.072 times 1,000, that becomes 72, over 1.2 times 1,000, that becomes, so the decimal point only cancels out one of the zeros. So this becomes 1,200, okay? Yes. So now when you multiply, you get 72 over 1,200. Now, since these two numbers are divisible by 12, we are going to divide 72 by 12 to give us 6 over 1,200 divided by 12, which is equal to 100. So 6 divided by 100 will have two decimal places. So this will be equal to 0.06. Now we're going to try one more example that combines division and multiplication. So now in this question, we're going to simplify 0.048 times 7.25, all that over 0.25 times 9.6. So you realize that in this question we have combined both multiplication and division. We are going to follow the rules of division here and start by eliminating the decimal places. So the rules are the same. We count. In the numerator, how many decimal places do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in the denominator we have 1, 2, 3. So we work with 5. So we multiply by 100,000 because it has 5 zeros. And the same thing we do at the bottom. So at this point now, to eliminate these 3 decimal places, then we have to cancel out 3 zeros. To eliminate these 2, we cancel out the other 2 zeros. So now we'll be left with 48 times 725. All that over. So these are 2 decimal places. We cancel out 2 zeros. This is 1. We cancel out 1. So now you'll be left with 25 times 96 times this 100. Okay? Yes. So at this point now, we can simplify. We can simplify this. So 48 and 96 are divisible by 48 1 by 48 2. Then 7, 25 and 25 by 25 29. So now at the top we have 1 times 29, which is 29, over 2 times 100, which is 200. So since these two numbers are not divisible, you can either use long division to divide if you need your answer in decimals, or you can leave it as a fraction. It will still be okay. 29/200 is a simplified answer, but if you express that in decimals, then it is going to be, remember we learned how to convert fractions to decimals, so I want you to test and see if you are able to obtain 0.145. Okay, so now I need you, before we move on to the next concept, I need you to attempt this question. So if you have 0.06 times 1.25 over 0.25 times 1.44, what would you get as your answer? Attempt this question, and when done, come back for the next session. Now in this section, we are going to learn how to order the operations if you have 2, 3, or 4 operations, in the same question. So we are going to follow something that you're familiar with. We are going to follow BODMAS. Okay, BODMAS. So I need us to remind ourselves what each of these letters represent. So we always begin with B, which means what? Brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and then subtraction. Very good. So anytime you have a mixture of operations in one question, always follow this order. If there are brackets, you begin with the brackets, followed by of, and so on. So we are going to do this using a question. 1.7 plus 2.8 times 3.5 minus 0.5 into bracket 7.2 minus 4.8. So like you can see here, we have so many operations. We have addition, we have multiplication, we have subtraction, we have brackets, and inside brackets we have subtraction. So using BODMAS, we begin with brackets. So we solve what is inside the brackets first. So we have 7.2 minus 4.8. So this becomes what? 2 can subtract 8, we carry 1 from here. So we have 12 minus 8, which gives you 4. Then 6 minus 4, which gives you 2. So now we can rewrite our question into 1.7 plus 2.8 times 3.5 minus 0.5 times now whatever times the solution of what is inside the brackets. Okay? Now, which is the next sign? Do we have of? We don't have of. We don't have division, but we have multiplication. And we have it in two, we have this multiplication and this multiplication. Okay? So now we are going to do the first one. 2.8 times 3.5. 2.8 times 3.5. So remember what we said? We can ignore the decimal places first, okay? Then we put them back after multiplying. So we have 28 times 35. So what does this give us? So now here we have 8 times 5 is 40. So 0 we carry 4. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus the 4 we carried forward, we have 14. 8 times 3 is 24. So 4 carry 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus the 2, we have 8. So this becomes 0 here. 4 plus 4 is 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. So we are getting 980. But we need 2 decimal places. So 1, 2. So we get 9.8. This is for the first multiplication. Now for the second multiplication, I know we can do this offhand. Our mental math is really good. So first of all, this becomes 1.7 plus. Now, the solution for this is 9.8 minus 2.4. We multiply by 0.5. Let's just do it for in case someone still needs to remind themselves how to multiply decimals. So we have two decimal places. So here now we have 24 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. So 0 carry 2. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 2, that is 12. How many decimal places do we have? 2. So 1, 2. So 1.2 will be our answer here. So minus 1.2. We are moving on well. So now we have two operations left. We have addition and then we have subtraction. So next, we are going to do addition. So we have 1.7 plus 9.8. 7 plus 8 is 15. So 5 carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 9, that is 11. Okay? So now we translate this into 11.5, which is what you get after adding these two, minus 1.2. So we only have one operation left. We have 11.5 minus 1.2. Minus 1.2. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. So finally we have our answer as 10.3. So I hope you really followed what to do when you have more than one operation. However, we are going to do one more example together. So for this example, we are going to solve. So here we have two brackets, a big one and then a small one. 4.4 plus 1.1 minus 0.4. Then we close the small one. Then this divide by 3. And then after the big bracket, we multiply by 3. Okay. So now let us work this out. So if you look at this question, we have two brackets. Let them not confuse you. So if in a case where we have two brackets and one is inside the other, you start with the innermost bracket. So we are going to begin with this innermost bracket. Now inside the innermost bracket, we have two operations. We have addition and then we have subtraction. So we are going to start with addition. So we have 4.4 plus 1.1. This becomes what? 1, 5 plus 4 is 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay? And then what we get after adding, we subtract 0.4. So now we have 5.5 minus 0.4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 5 minus 0 is 5. Now, since we have solved inside the small bracket, we can now remove it and rewrite our given question as, the brackets 5.1 divide. So what was inside here, the small bracket, is what we have gotten as 5.1 divided by 3 and then multiply by 3. So again, now we solve inside the big bracket. So we have 5.1 divided by 3. So this is 5.1 over 3. So times 10 here, times 10, so that you can remove this decimal point. And this will be equal to 51, all that over 30. Now if you divide this, 51 is divisible by 3. So 51 by 3 is 17. And 30 by 3 is 10. So this is 17 over 10, which is actually 1.7. Okay? Yeah, 1.7. So now inside the big brackets, the value of the solution for inside the big bracket is 1.7. So now we can rewrite this into 1.7 times 3. okay? 1.7 times 3. Remember, ignore the decimal place first. So this is 17 times 3. 7 times 3 is 21. 1, we carry 2. 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2, that is 51. How many decimal places did we have? Just one. So we put it back in. So really our answer for this question is 5.1. Okay? Good. So now we are going to find out, since we have learned how to solve these questions, and even where we have more than one operation, we know how to order them and prioritize, from brackets all the way to subtraction. Now we are going to learn how to solve word problems that involve decimals. Now when solving word problems, the target is to determine which operation do we use. Do we add, do we subtract, do we multiply, or do we divide? So in the first question, we have Ben and Zen. They saved up, one of them saved 184 shillings and 20 cents, and the other one saved 328 shillings and 65 cents, so they can buy a gift for their mom. So how much money did they have in total? So the word total should guide you to know whether you should add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So when you want a total, you want an accumulation of two or more things. So you want to find out when you add what Ben had to what Jane had, how much was it all together. So we're going to have 184.20 plus 328.65. 0 plus 5 is 5. 2 plus 6 is 8. Then 4 plus 8 is 12. So 2 carry 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So 1 carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. So now you have 512 shillings and 85 cents. Your mom will be really happy. You should try the same for your mom. Now in the second question, the heights of two boys are 3.75 feet and 4.01 feet. Find the difference in their heights. So the word difference guides us to know what to do. So you obtain a difference through subtraction. So now we are going to subtract. Which one is bigger? 4.01. What is your height? Do you know how tall you are? Minus 3.71. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then 0 can subtract 7. So we borrow 1 from here so that we have 10 minus 7, which is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So the difference in their height is 0.3 foot. Okay? So now I'm going to give you some questions so that you can test yourself on whether you have understood the concepts that we have covered in this lesson. Now in this exercise, you are going to attempt these 3 questions. The first one, 48.09 plus 1.27 plus 0.008. 2 into brackets 4.5 divided by 0.5 times into brackets 3.3 minus 2.8 minus 2. Then solve this word problem. Mary buys 5 packs of milk, each at 30 shillings and 50 cents. How much change does she get if she pays using a 500 shillings note? So I hope you've learned something in this lesson on how to, add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals, and how to do it when all those operations are combined. Thank you for your patience and for being in this lesson. See you in the next lesson.